Tres Amigos, former football coaches turned insurance agents to talk about Texas Aggie football.
What are we, episode 25 what? 25-15, right?
I don't even understand that, but yeah, 25 something.
25-15.
25's a year, and then this is the 15th episode.
15th episode. Yep.
All right, guys, so we're going to get started here. This is Tres Amigos, episode 25-15. As always, we want to thank everybody for listening. Last week, we added about 100 subscribers. The YouTube episode had over 3,300 views, so appreciate that. Like I said, we're trying to get to 1,500 subscribers, and we're getting close. Could definitely use y'all's help. Share, like, comment, send it in a text with some buddies. All those type of things. And, of course, we're on all the social medias, TikTok, X, Instagram, Facebook, all of it. So share us, like us, appreciate all that. But, man, last week was a fun week for a couple amigos. One of them feels like he was left out, but got to be in College Station.
Kind of feels like. It was.
Got to be in College Station during the week, which is not common. I got to go to Elko's radio show at Rudy's on Wednesday evening, and it was standing room only. I've never been to it, but the people we were talking to said that it was substantially larger crowd than normal, which you would expect being 10-0, now 11-0. But we were walking around looking for a place to set me and Seth, and had a couple gentlemen want to give a shout out to Billy from Elysian Fields and David Fleming for coming up and introducing themselves. Said they listened to our podcast, enjoyed, really appreciate them doing that. And so we got to do that. And Elko, as you know, walks around the room, and he had a head cold. And we were actually, me and Seth, if you want to pull that picture up, me and Seth were, I think, the last two people to actually get a picture with him, because his lady that I guess kind of keeps him in line on those type of things, we're constantly telling him, hey, we got to get you back up there. The radio show's about to go. So, but got to talk to him for a split second, and I'll let Seth tell his portion of this real quick. But the funny thing I thought is, over to our left, there was probably 4 or 5 students there that were there for the show, and one of them looked like a pretty good looking kid, and I thought, dang, I can't believe that kid's not playing some sort of athletics in college. He was a good looking kid. Well, Elko took the opportunity to take a picture with him, and then get his lady to get the kid's information for walk-on tryouts. So Elko is constantly recruiting it, even at his radio talk show. So I thought that was pretty funny. But Seth, tell us about your experience, because I know you enjoyed talking to him for the short time we got to.
Yeah, I knew we didn't have long, but so I had to make it short because the lady was tugging on his hoodie, to get back to the radio. But he walked up, and I told him that that cat blitz and the B gap with Will Lee was maybe my favorite defensive call scheme play I've ever watched on film. And he agreed, and then he reminded me that Will Lee should have made the play on the first attempt. so that was pretty funny. Right. That even he knew exactly what I was talking about, and immediately went to being frustrated Will Lee didn't tackle him on the first try, which cracked me up. And so yeah, one of the realizations I had listening to it, I've saw the little clips of the Elko Radio Hour, like anybody else has on Twitter, but just being there and listen to him talk with Monaco, and he's really talking to the audience via Monaco. And it made me realize something that, we as business owners, it's important not to talk at people and talk with them. And I feel like that's what Elko always is doing. He's talking with you, even if you're a fan at the radio hour. So I imagine that translates to how he talks to his defensive coaches or offensive coaches, his analyst staff, his recruiting staff, his strength and conditioning staff, his players. And what I mean by that is, when you look at where we were last year to this year, you can see why it just feels like everybody that gets around him is elevated. They develop. And I know we talk about that D word with the players all the time, but like I remember last year at the end of the year, looking back on, I didn't know if the defensive line coach was going to survive the offseason. I hate to talk about coaches, moving on or whatever, but that's just the honest truth. Like, that's how bad the D-line played late. Look how good that unit now, is so good and so well coached. And we've pointed that out on here. Mark has pointed it out on here so much, how well they just do their job. And like to me, that's another example of a guy that has developed as well. And I mean, it's not like he's a young coach. Coach Spencer's been around a long time, but you never stop trying to improve. And so anyway, I don't know. It was just a realization I had sitting in that radio hour. I was like, wow, the development is always taking place, and it doesn't matter who it is. He's even developing us as fans how to stop being battered Aggies and how to stop worrying about stuff. And he's even trying to educate the fans that those halftime speeches, like you think we have been groomed from Hollywood to think that's how he even on that Elko radio said there ain't nothing to say. Like you just go in there and he goes, we won that game 6 months ago is when we won it, not at halftime with some little rally motivational speech. So anyway, because he talked about when he walked into the locker room, the kids were already in it. Like Marcel's already saying, I'm gonna be on. I'm gonna get you guys the ball in the second half. The defense is telling the offense, we're not letting them score again. We're not letting them score again. We're gonna go win this thing. He said, I hadn't said a word yet, and all that's going on when he walks in at halftime. So like he said, it's really what you do in the outside of the season and in the preparation that leads up. But anyway, just that just occurred to me, that D word, that development is happening no matter who's around Elko. And that's very exciting stuff.
That is, yeah. And so continuing on the weekend, it was just a good week. I got offered some tickets to go to the Samford game. I don't normally, I usually can get some tickets, but I don't normally get enough to take the whole family. And got enough, but I was one short for my whole family, and got on one of the message boards and had a gentleman reach out and give me a free ticket. Very thankful for that. Got to take my 6-year-old James Biddlecombe. He goes by Moose, and appreciate you for helping me out there. And if you'll put the picture up there, we stayed for all 4 quarters. I got a little sun because my son forgot his hat. So when we got up there, my wife was like, could you let him borrow his hat or borrow your hat? So I gave him my hat, and then I realized on the way home that I got a little sun on the face, but had a great time and appreciate that. So, Mark, you got anything before we get into the quick breakdown of the Samford and on to the SIPs?
Yeah, I just want to make sure we didn't leave anything out. I did not get to go to the coaches show, as the other amigos, as we call them, did not invite me. So I guess I am the solo amigo. But that's just how defensive coaches are treated. Obviously, Elko being a defensive coach, they couldn't have, even numbers. Offensive guys always need to outnumber their guy. So since Elko's a defensive coach, I couldn't be there. But yeah, that's what I got.
Okay.
I was a little bitter.
Moving on from the pity party here, we're moving on to, we're not going to spend a whole lot of time on Samford. As Mark said in our text message, we don't need to spend more than 5 minutes on them. We may spend a few more minutes just because I do want to talk about the youth. Usually we do good, bad, and ugly. This week was good, better, and best because there wasn't a whole lot of ugly in this game. Or bad really. But I appreciate Elko getting Daniels in there. I had picked EJ Smith as my player of the game, thinking he was going to be the featured back. But they rested him and had Daniels in there, and that was a great deal for Daniels. He was able to have a great essential first quarter because he was pretty much done after that. But in the first quarter, he had 9 carries for 100 yards and a touchdown. So great for that kid. We've talked about him before. He could have easily transferred in the offseason knowing that EJ was coming back. Moss was coming back. Owens was coming back. I mean, he could have easily said, I'm going to go find somewhere I can be the featured back. And he would have done, he'd have been he's a good running back. But stuck the course, and I appreciate everything he's done for the team, and glad to see him get to do that on senior day.
You know what I'm also happy about for guys like that? You know what I'm also happy about for guys like that is that they're being rewarded with, I mean, here we are. Like, they're going to get to play in the postseason. Like, if he'd have transferred somewhere else, very likely, his season would have ended in another bowl game, maybe. Or maybe not even that. But now, guys like him who stuck around, like, that reward is happening for guys who are team first mentality, because that's what they ultimately care about, So I'm so excited for those guys like that, him and EJ, that, like, they're getting rewarded with the fact that, hey, we're about to go do something nobody else has done at A&M. So that's really cool.
Absolutely. So what'd you see that you thought was good there, boss?
But yeah, like you mentioned, that with that, the slant from, let me pull this up, because I just thought that this is a scheme we've seen multiple times. I just like to always pick something scheme. There ain't nothing fancy about this scheme I'm talking about today. It's just how good Concepcion is at the slant from the slot. versus the nickel. And, there's the touchdown from Samford. Very, like, that is tough to cover. And you may think, well, Seth, it is Samford. But honestly, he should have 3 touchdowns on this, because the pass he dropped last week where South Carolina was this exact same scheme. And here it is again versus Mississippi State. Like, these are the reasons this route right here, how good he is at that, is one of the reasons this kid's going to get drafted very, very high, because he has been, we don't have a red zone weapon. We can't throw the fade. Well, there's more than one way to throw the ball in the red zone.
That's right.
So that was really cool. Like, I just wanted to point that out, how, like, we're witnessing greatness on this route with KC. Like, this guy is elite.
Yeah, he really is. So, and then for my better, and we're going to try to move through pretty quick on this because it's Samford, but my better was seeing the young guys play and knowing that they are getting developed as well. So the first highlight we're going to show here is Hart. He is a freshman quarterback out of Florida. And if you've kept up with recruiting at all, that kid should be a senior in high school. He graduated a year early, so he should be a senior on the football team at some high school in Florida. And he's taking snaps and throwing a dig across the middle, putting it right on him. I love his pocket presence. His feet are soft. You see how calm his feet are? His feet being calm is what allows him to do that. So that's really exciting to see a kid that's probably still 17 doing that. And then this is the backup, Miles. And he forced the ball early in the first drive he was in. But watch this 9. It doesn't get completed because the receiver supposedly loses it in the sun, I think, or something. But that's a beautiful ball. That is a great ball on a 9. Puts it out there where the receiver can get to it. The receiver's running away from the ball. That needs to be corrected a little bit, and that's why he drops it. You see him kind of fading away from that ball instead of going and getting it. But good ball by the 2 quarterbacks here. So see a bright future with those 2 guys. And then everybody knows about Morrow, the freshman running back that's been doing well. But if you'll go to the next highlight, this is the other freshman from DeSoto. If you keep up with high school football at all, DeSoto usually turns out some talent. Cyrus Gray was from DeSoto. Pretty good running back in the day. Look at that. They called this a holding. Watch 84 on that. I can't believe. Look at that. That's so garbage. But anyway, call a hold on
so bad.
Nye Black right there. But great run by Tiger. And then we always go the last highlight. We always talk about how Trooper can get these guys to play physical. Watch how he finishes this run on this safety. Watch him. Boom. I mean, just runs him over. And I know that's Samford, but that's a freshman running back, and he meets him, and that kid's going to remember that for a while. So I just love our running back room, how they're being developed, how physical they are. And so my good was just getting to see the young guys get some PT and see them get, their development and those type of things. So, Seth, what was your better? Sorry, I said that was good. What was your better?
Yeah. Well, Ryden does. It's nice to see it. It looks like he's got that heavy back potential, kind of like what we're getting out of EJ. And, well, Moss has turned into an all-purpose back. But how Moss started off as like, oh, hey, he's our violence back. And so it looks like he's got potential to be that because he is a bigger kid. He's probably got 10 or 12 more pounds, maybe 15 more pounds than Morrow does. But I had to pull the same clip from Brady Hart. I want to highlight our right guard, Tyler Thomas. I was going to go into this week looking for a young offensive lineman to feature, and here he is on his very first play. That's his very first play into the game. You'll see him we're doing the pull lead play. Yeah, and he gets in there and delivers a blow. You can tell he's a strong kid. If I'm watching, for something to be critical of at this early stage of his development, he doesn't necessarily have the quickest feet, but that's something that could be improved in the offseason through lots and lots of reps. But I loved how technically sound he seemed for a kid playing. He'd never played this many snaps before, even going back to the early part of the season. I'd seen Ivy play a lot. I hadn't seen Tyler Thomas much, and I went back and looked at him because I don't remember him much. He was a 3-star from Dickinson. So just this unheralded pickup last year that I'm sure people on Texas even griped about. But I'm looking at this kid going, that kid looks like a future starter to me. He kind of has that already. And here he is in pass pro. I wanted to find you at least one. Like, watch how he handles this twist. I know it's only Sanford, but look, true freshmen screw that up versus air. That's
absolutely
tough. So
I'm glad you brought that up because I saw the same thing.
Yeah.
Passes
really good
off,
job on that. That was that same play.
Great job.
Yep.
Yeah, great
job.
Yeah,
and if you watch the one thing I'm talking about with his feet is you see Borden, number 70 at right tackle there. If you watch his feet and Tyler Thomas is side by side, you can see how Borden's picked up and put down a little faster. It's just simple as that. Like he's a big, strong kid, and he seems like he's pretty sharp. He has really good technical footwork. But if he can improve his quickness, he plays with a good, heavy lower half. I like that. Like he doesn't get bullied much. Anyway, very excited to see that, because when I went in to watch the young line, I really didn't know. I was like, who is going to pop out? And I had to go look him up. I was expecting Borden or Ivy or Lamont Rogers, the 5-star from last year, but all of a sudden I'm looking up this 3-star going, man, that's my favorite young lineman of the game right there. So
Well, and my best for the offense against Samford was getting to see a senior walk-on, Preston Landis, score a touchdown, that last touchdown. It wasn't anything fancy. He caught a swing pass on earlier in this drive that was really, really good footwork. But what I loved about it is he scored the touchdown, but if you listen to the post-game press conference with Elko, they asked him, man, how excited were you to see Tiger? Because everybody knows Tiger was a big recruit and a big win in the recruiting, and he's, a high-profile kid. How excited were you to see him get his first touchdown? I loved Elko's response, because it just goes to show a guy that he was a walk-on at Penn, so he's been through that road. He understands that, and he says, man, I was excited for that. Don't get me wrong. He said, but Tiger's going to score a lot of touchdowns here. He said, what I was excited for was seeing Preston Landis get that touchdown, being a senior walk-on, all the hours he's put in and all that, and to see him get to enjoy that as a senior on the last home game was just really, really cool. And I thought that was just a great response by Elko. He understands the culture at A&M. I mean, we are the home of the 12th man. We celebrate walk-ons. We encourage walk-ons, and that's part of the culture down there, that blue-collar culture he talked about. I mean, when they announced at the game that the 12th man kickoff coverage was going to, cover the kick in the second quarter, the whole stadium erupted. I mean, he gets our culture, and I just love how he wanted to celebrate that for that kid as well. So that was my good, better, and best of Samford. Mark, what you have? Offensive guys, we barely let our starters
Can I add
play.
Something there?
Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
I had something there about Lance. So I was I was at the game with my friend Haddon Starnes, and his son has gone to A&M football camp the last 2 years, and he said this Preston Landis is one of the most memorable kids at the camp. Like, he's just so good with the kids. Like, one of those people where after the camp they have to go look him up. Like, what position does he? Like, who is he? But yeah, so it's really cool that a kid like that, because obviously when you're like the most memorable player at camp, that means you're just a great kid. Like, you're a great dude helping out with all the youngsters. And my only better was after Elko talked about being opposite of the moment last week, like we saw it again, like he's chewing butt up and down the fourth quarter. Like, he's on it because, those young guys are getting their chance to play. And so he's like opposite of the moment again, sleepy third and fourth quarter. But Elko, when we nearly got that punt block, I thought he was gonna pass out. Whenever that guy got close. So anyway, that was good to see the opposite of the moment from the week before. So
well, Mark,
and I will say, I know the quarterback O'Neal took some chewings too. It was funny.
Yeah.
He tried to throw some deep balls, and Elko was the first guy to meet him. So on defense, look, man, I said going into this game, Samford was a terrible, terrible football team, and they really proved that. I will say this: I want to give Samford's coach a little credit here, not too much because he kind of acted ugly a little bit, but here's what you do. If you're an FCS team and you got to go play one of these money games, just run the ball on every freaking play and punt it. I mean, just try to grind the clock down. Don't try to score. Oh, okay, we're going to have one series. We're going to run all our special plays. Okay, that's good. Okay, get back to just run it, run the clock, punt it, get it away. He really did that. So as far as my good, better, best, the good is we got healthy. We set some guys. We're healthy for a big game this weekend. I hate that they don't get the routine of playing. That's always a scary thing to balance, but they definitely needed the rest from a physical SEC schedule. So we got healthy. That's good. We're healthy going into this last game. We blocked a field goal. That was cool to keep the shutout. And that was my best.
Yeah, freshman.
Yeah, and that was my best. We got a shutout. And so, you play a lot of young guys and you still get the shutout on an FCS team. That's really good, even though they're a really, really bad FCS team. But, we accomplished everything we were supposed to accomplish in this game to get ready for this weekend.
That's right. All right, so moving on. Obviously, everybody knows who we're playing this week. And so went back, watched the film. What I saw, and Seth, you can tell me if I'm wrong, what I saw from the defense from Texas is they're going to base have a 4 down, a lot of 4-2-5, a lot of 4-3, just kind of depends on personnel, down and distance, all that kind of thing. Formation. Yeah, if you go heavy, they're going to bring in that third linebacker, all those things. And a lot of zone. Did not see hardly, I won't say hardly, but not a ton of man coverage. A lot of cover three. They'll go to a cover 4 or cover 4 occasionally, but a lot of cover 3. Their defense, they're sixth best in the SEC scoring defense, ninth best in total defense yards per game in the SEC. 12th in pass defense. I think that's really where their struggles are on that back end. They get lost. They get really lost back there and confused on the back end. Noah Thomas had the game of his life against them when Georgia played them. And now they are good on run defense. They're good up front, solid. They've got 2 D tackles that were both transfer ins, seniors, one from North Carolina, one from Ohio State. They aren't. Those guys, I wouldn't say are going to be flashy. You're not going to see them make a bunch of flash plays, but they will clog a hole, and they are physical, and they are big. So that was the main things I got out of it. Obviously, on the D-line, you want to know where Colin Simmons is. If you're not familiar, Colin Simmons, 5-star out of Duncanville, absolute stud, had 10 sacks last year as a freshman, is second in the SEC in sacks this year to a guy y'all might have heard of, Cassius Howe. And he was a preseason first-team All-SEC, which is not surprising. And just in case anybody was wondering, Cassius Howe was not on any of those lists. He was not preseason anything. So maybe the preseason ought to reevaluate how they do that. But anyway, linebackers.
Journalist.
Yeah, linebackers are 8, 18, 26, and 0. 0 is their main guy. If you're familiar, Anthony Hill, the dude is good. The dude is very, very good, very physical. Had we not left him in a parking lot for 4 hours, he might be wearing maroon and white. Yeah, anyway. He was also preseason All SEC. What Reed has to know is where Simmons is and where Anthony Hill is every single snap. Before the ball is snapped, we have to know where they are, and we have to have a plan for those 2 guys. 26 is a young kid, Smith, out of Jasper. He will not be eligible the first half due to a penalty the second half against Arkansas. And then secondary, McDaniel's leading them with INTs, and they do force a lot of turnovers. They've had 11 INTs and 12 fumble recoveries on the year, so they do force a lot of turnovers. We're going to have to hold on to the ball. But honestly, not nearly as good up front as they were last year. They're still good, just not what they were last year up front in the middle. And their secondary, in my opinion, is very susceptible. So we'll see what they got. What did you see out of that group, Seth?
Yeah, I went and dug in on some of the coverage statistics on PFF and just filtering for conference play. Like Texas runs cover 3 more than anybody else. They're at 45%, and for comparison purposes, we're at 31%. We really don't lead any category in coverage. That's just a testament to how Elko likes to do things. You're not.
I was about
you're
to
not
say
going
that
to say,
makes it
well,
real
we're going to
tough.
closely see this. That
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah. You're going to see predominantly cover 3, and when they get in. Man, it's usually a cover 1 variety with a single high safety, and they usually play loose. They don't do much pressing. Very low press percentage when it comes to that. Like, unlike Georgia, when I was looking at that, Georgia's like 90% press rate. So it was funny. Complete opposite. But they remind me, once again, it's somewhere in between. We talked about this during the Missouri week. Their defense, and Pete K, the way he likes to call defense and build his defense is bend but don't break. But there's nothing. I'm not saying you can't be like that. There's an implication when people say bend but don't break that your defense is bad. No. Your defense can be very good with that type of mentality, like Missouri's defense is. Missouri's one of the best defenses in the conference, doing that, taking that approach with 3 shell, because Missouri runs 45% cover 3 as well. Them and Texas are at the top when you sort it by that. The problem is they're bending a lot. They're bending a lot. Now, they're
They
not
are.
breaking as much as you would think. Like points scored, like you said, I think they're middle of the pack in points scored. But where they're dead last on stuff is chunk plays allowed, 10 and 20 plus, and also first downs through the air. I got a graph here to show you that just pulling this data from just various online sites, but it's kind of shocking to see this because I didn't take the time to do it, but last year's Texas defense wasn't anything like this. You'll see that this is
No.
filtered for conference play, 10-yard plays and 20-plus yard plays allowed per game. Okay, on a per-game basis, Texas falls between Mississippi State, and Arkansas.
That's not where
and
you
so
want to be,
that's a shocking thing to see because, like Mark always talks about, the journalists and the media at large and the drive-by casual college football fans at large, they tend to kind of hold on to these thoughts about teams based on previous years or what it was coming into the season. There's still this thought that this Texas defense is elite, and they are not. Like, they have 2 elite players. They have Colin
Yes.
Simmons and Anthony Hill, and those guys are elite.
Yes.
But then they've got 9 other guys. It takes more than 2 to play defense. So the bending a lot is how they get got. Next graph is first downs allowed via coverage in conference play. So in the SEC, first downs allowed via coverage. Now, we are at the elite side of that graph when it comes to that, but they are not. And so that is, once again, now I'm lining all this up to say, how do you beat them? You're telling me, Seth, we're going to beat them through the air. You're correct. We're not going to do it by throwing it over the top. They're pretty good at that. If you go back and watch the explosive plays that they allow, I don't remember a single one where a 9 route was caught or some post was caught with a 60-yard air ball. It's almost all stuff like this where you find the empty spot of the zone, like Matt talked about. They get a little lost, hit it underneath, and then your receiver goes and adds with his legs. I'm telling you,
Seth?
I actually was looking for one. I couldn't find one where it was just a deep ball. Yeah.
Seth, I will say this, last year when I watched us play them, their ability and their defensive coordinator, who I have a lot of respect for,
Yes.
his ability to spin down when he was supposed to, stay high in two shell when he needed to be, was really good. And this year I've seen a lot of more teams, especially like with Arkansas, they just have figured out how to scheme them, and there's ways to beat what they do. It's a simple scheme. I think about it when like going up against Surratt when we were on defense. We used to do this blitz pickup, and man, we just couldn't run anything just standard against him because if we did, he's right there in a practice session. We had to give him so many weird hybrids. But I will say, I've seen people scheme them. Hey, if we start in this formation, run this motion, they're going to spin down here, and then we're going to attack it. And it's just been a different year for them. Plus, they don't have the cats they did last year. They lost a lot. But
yeah, they had that
So the
corner
two-
last year.
the
I can't
two
remember
together-
the kid's name, but he was so good.
the people scheming stuff up and getting them to where they want them to be. Last year, Texas's defense against the Aggies was exactly where they wanted to be at the snap. But I've seen more people get them where they wanted them to be to attack them scheme-wise.
That's very good observation. And there's a recurring theme to this too, is oftentimes because of their cover 3 look, it's an RPO or a play action that gets the linebackers to bite. And the 3 deep shell is so conscious about getting beat deep. Once again, I don't see them get beat deep, but as you can see, I can't pause this, but you can see there's a lot of grass in between the linebackers and the 3 deep shell, right?
Yeah.
That's where they're getting exploited the most. And the other one is
So what you're saying, Seth? Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but so what you're saying is like an RPO where KC runs a slant that we just bragged on how good he is at running those slants.
100%.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Yeah. They've been hit on that. They've been hit on lots of stop routes or curl routes to the number 1 receiver as well underneath those deep corners. So that's why I say, like, if you're wondering how we move the ball on these people, it's somewhere in between Missouri and Mississippi State, because Mississippi State was kind of the same thing when we broke them down about, hey, the intermediate zone is super soft. So they're not, obviously they got more talent on their defensive staff or their defensive personnel than Mississippi State does, but they're not as good in their scheme as Missouri is. So that's what I'm trying to give you, like 2 teams we've seen. How do they look? That's what they look like to me. They look like they're not as bad as Mississippi State. They got better personnel, but they're not as good. They're not as well coached and scheme wise this year as Missouri is. And I would argue Missouri might have better. Missouri may have better personnel 1-11. Missouri may just not have the best 1 and 2, with Hill and Simmons, if that makes sense. So,
yeah. I was
Well,
gonna
and
tell
how
I'll
we're going
say
to beat them
this-
is Marcel just taking, like, it can't be I'm Marcel and I'm going to throw this deep ball like we did in Notre Dame, which he's graduated beyond that. Like we haven't seen that as much from him. If he just goes out and manages the game and throws the ball where the space is. And then the thing is, we have some of the most elite rack guys in the game, right? Like if they catch that, like if KC catches that space ball in between the linebackers and safeties, that can turn into a touchdown. Like that's where we beat them.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, and I think that's the difference this year and last year, right? Like last year they could stack the box, and we didn't have the weapons outside. This year they're not going to be. I mean, they can stack the box if they would like to, and KC and
Cap was playing
Craver
linebacker against us last year,
and
essentially.
yeah. And ABR will have wonderful days in Austin, Texas. So pick your poison, I guess. So yeah, I agree with everything you said there, and I'm excited about the game. It's a rivalry game, but I still think we're the better team. So, Mark, what do you see out of their offense? On what's Sark drawing up over there?
So a couple of things I want to address here. So at the beginning of the year, I was just ready to throw up with all the hype of their quarterback. And I wasn't because I thought their quarterback was bad. It's just, it was too much.
Pushing it down your
year,
throat, just shoving it down your throat.
Yeah, it was like they love the backup. They love the next offensive coordinator over there. Like they won a national championship and were ready to fire their OC the next year. The way they are. And so last year it was like, oh, we can't win these games. It's all the quarterback's fault. If we just played the backup, then he's amazing because he has an amazing last name. But I temper all of that just made me sick with, I understood the dynamic of a kid coming in, having the offense early, struggling a little bit and getting better. And he's gotten a lot better. He's gotten much better. He is a good deep ball thrower, and he's better at the deep ball than their quarterback last year. Ewers was very good at the 2-ball, really good. His deep balls were just, sometimes they weren't, you got receivers running around like this because they were so bad. And this guy, he throws it really well. I will say what I've seen, watching all of their games, which I've done now, from the very beginning of the year till now, Sark has done a better job of putting him in easier situations. Sark has worked his can off, and I understand why he's upset when people, are questioning his quarterback, because he's seen how far he's come. But Sark's had to do it. So a couple of things is they put him in easy situation. It's a 3-step throw it deep. It's a throw it sideways, quick nows and bubble type stuff. It's a scheme where they do a lot of the sideways throws, right? So they don't have much of a running game. So the way that they do it is they'll do some jets, right? And because they just run basic zone-based stuff. It's not challenging if you fit it right.
Well, and they don't have the guys up front they had last year to do that.
That's right. So what does he do? He throws it sideways a lot. He stretches you, what Seth says, it's a horizontal stretch of your defense constantly. Then he comes back and he shows that and throws it in the hole to a curl route. Very good at getting those guys to come up and attack that, throwing it right behind them. He's very good at that. And that's really where they get you. And then they'll fake the now and throw what, Matt, you would call it the stupid. Like a hole shot. Let's say you try to run some cover 2 stuff, get a safety over the top of that double receiver side. And then now you've got a guy like a corner having to bite hard down on that now. And then the guy, the blocking guy just skips him and runs the hole shot. They throw it in the hole. They do a lot of that. But here is the key to making him look like the Ohio State game. And I've seen it over and over. If you let him get out of the pocket comfortably, his receivers are going to get open. He's going to make a dynamic throw. He's capable of it. If you let him step up in a clean pocket, he's going to find something behind you or a crossing route or something that's hard to cover for a long time, and he's going to hurt you. where he struggles. If you can get pressure in the middle, keep the pocket sound, keep him from getting out of it, and put pressure in his face, you're going to see off throws where he throws it 5 yards to the left. He throws it over the head. That's where you see him. It's with pressure in his face and he can't get out. And we have to do a good job of putting him in those situations. Luckily for us, this is something good that we've seen this year is our interior guys getting some push. And that's what they got to do. And they've got to do it against double teams, you know, because one guy is going to get a double team and he's got to get push and stay in it. He can't take the easy route because when he does, he takes the easy route, it's going to open something on the side and that he's going to get out. He's going to step up in it and he's going to hurt you. So we can't give him time. We got to put pressure on him. Their O-line is weak in the middle. But they scheme their protections really well.
Yeah.
But we have to own them in the middle. Our interior D-line will dictate the success of the game for us. They do not run block well, so Sark alleviates that with the quick game. They try to really pressure you early horizontally to get you to come up and cover that stuff and with their athletes in space, and then they'll hit you deep because you're doing that. So it's a great scheme. Their backs are not great. Weiser's not near as good as the backs that we've seen this year, not near as good as the guys they had last year. Their backs to me look like typical third down NFL backs. They're the guys that can catch it out of the backfield, but they're not a between the tackles, zone base, make a linebacker miss type guy. So they don't have first and second down bruisers. So you're going to see a lot of quick game RPOs type stuff. On first and second down, we have to do a good job of getting them in that second and long and third and long stuff. So it's a test, but at the same time, you know, they're having to deal with this week with their protection schemes, all of the crazy stuff that Elko shows them. You know, the cat blitz, the who's spinning down when, and we have to be careful with how we do it. We have to keep it simple in a way, but we also have to be exotic. And I think Elko is probably the best I've ever seen at keeping it simple, yet being exotic. And we need to put pressure on him early and get him frazzled. He's had a lot of pressure from the outside noise. I think he's done a phenomenal job with it, honestly. And I think that's why a lot of the players on his team are so impressed with him because he's handled that well. But if we can get him early, have him make some bad throws, get pressure in his face, get a sack or two, that is going to help us. If we can make them pretty much one-dimensional, like my question is, I'm not in the room. How are we going to tackle the quick now and cover the stupid? How are we going to look vertically and horizontally against them? And if we can look good, we could play really well. I hate to even think about it, but it is a big challenge. Their offense is had some success. You know, they played Mississippi State, they played Arkansas, and that's a offensive coach's best friend because you're going to score.
Yeah, build that confidence.
So they really exposed some of the weaknesses that I saw in Vanderbilt's defense. Because Vanderbilt's defense is supposedly good. They're just really good up front, but on the back end, Sark really exposed them. But as the game goes on, you start to adjust. Do you see defenses start to figure some stuff out? How are we gonna deal with this? And they start to deal with it. Sark's script plays are so good. They look so good. I think that's one thing that was weird about the Ohio State game was how well they did early, but lately in the SEC play, their first 15 plays look like, man, they're right where they're supposed to be. They're completing passes. They're making gains. They're scoring touchdowns. And then after that, Sark, I don't know that I am impressed with him as a game manager. Here's how the game's going. Here's what they're doing. Let's adjust. I don't see that as well with him. I would say that it's one of his weaknesses if he has one. So we need to withstand the first quarter against them. If we can get stops on the first two series of the game, yeah, that's going to be a good night in Austin. Those are going to be hard. we don't normally start well. Just so I don't know if y'all know this or not. We pretty much we're better at the in-game adjustments. We're
Yes.
better at the second half. This game could go that way. I see that game going this way. I see us being stressed for a while, but I see as the game goes on, it working more to our favor.
Yep. All right. Well, yeah. So before we go into our game predictions, one thing that I want to say, and I don't quite understand why other teams hadn't picked. Let's not punt to this punt returner. Let's directionally punt out of bounds or pinning or something, because the only reason, in my opinion, they beat Kentucky was this punt returner. And Oklahoma probably has a chance to win that game if you take this punt returner out. Now, there was a block in the back, but that's here nor there. But that kid is dynamic on punt returns. So is ours. KC's really good. I hope they punt to us, but I hope we do not punt to them. So that's
hey, Matt.
Yeah.
So when their special teams coordinator is Banks, and he was at A&M under Sumlin. He and I became really good friends because I was special teams coordinator. And I spent a lot of time with him. He's phenomenal. Now, they've had some bust on special teams that make you scratch your head, like the onside kick and things like that. But I will say this: when I watch us on film, the thing that has scared me the most is our scheme on punt protection. It's not good. And we went away from it and did some cool stuff against Missouri and changed the scheme up. And then we went back to some of our base stuff. Man, I'm telling you right now, that guy's coming after one of our punts.
100%.
He is coming after one 100%. Of our punts, and it's going to be schemed up as good as anybody in the game. That guy can scheme them up better than anybody we faced, and we better have 3 guys at personal protector this week. And just kick the thing out of bounds. I'm good with that.
Yeah,
Live to play another day.
Absolutely.
He really doesn't monkey around. He really doesn't monkey around when it comes to special teams. Pretty good at it. So, my one thing I'd like to add is you got to survive the second quarter. I know I know we're talking about the Sark script as much as anything, and that's true. The last 4 games, he has thrown the ball to Wingo in the flat, and it went for a touchdown against a defense with way better, not as good a personnel as ours in the secondary. So surviving that initial onslaught Sark has gotten from film is huge. But also, I think it's the second quarter, and this is less to do with Texas and more to do with us. I went back and looked at some second quarter stats, and we're really bad in the second quarter. For the fact that we're 11-0, our second quarter, we're dead last in offensive EPA per play, to use the nerdy stat, dead last, and we're not really high on EPA per play allowed on defense either, like bottom quartile. So survive the second quarter, get into halftime, and then finish the game. Like, I go back to the whole team. The whole team is built like this, though. Like, their defense has been but don't break. And to use MMA or fighting as an example, like, they want to get you, on offense, they want to land a knockout blow, right? Early. Get up and then play that way from ahead. And we're on defense. We want to land the knockout blow. Like, that's how we play. So that's our defense versus their offense is going to be a not so boring, like 2 guys trying to land haymakers. And then the other side of the fence is our offense. While we are explosive, we're also kind of like, hey, we're going to swim you out here to the deep end. Well, we know we can tread water a little longer than you can. You're going to drown. So I'm interested to see, and their defense is really designed to do that, even though they're not doing a very good job. So the different styles of scheme and stuff, very interested to see, but survive the second quarter. That's the key. I think if we can survive the second quarter, we'll be all right.
I was really happy to hear that Elko said, this won't be the first time I've looked at these guys on film. And, I don't know if you really understand how it works in the summer with those guys. You pretty much take all 11 games from last year and break them down. It's kind of the thing that GAs used to do, is just you take every game from the year before, and if it's a new coordinator, you go to whatever school or whatever, but you break them down schematically and you run the tendencies. But I really hope they have been studying them. I know I've studied them more than anybody for this podcast. I've studied them more than anybody on offense and defense, because I can tell you a lot about their defense too, just because I've watched so much film. And I really like their defensive coordinator.
Yeah. So we watched them on film versus Florida when we were getting ready for that. And And so we have seen them a lot, even just in how the games have played out. And of course, can't help it. We're not in the room. We can watch other teams. That's okay. We're not in the coach's office. We can skip ahead.
Right, but it was good to hear that Elko said they've kind of been doing the same thing. That makes
Sure.
me. This is gonna. I think this game will live up to the hype. It's gonna be two champions just trying to land haymakers against each other.
Yeah, you couldn't. If you're an A&M fan, you could not ask for any more. You're 11-0, and of course, being an A&M fan, you're still being doubted. You're always going to be doubted. When are you going to lay the egg? When are you going to, and this is our opportunity to go in there and win decisively, and kind of say, like Elko's been trying to tell us, let go of the BAS, let go of the BAS, and move on. So, all right, game predictions. So, Seth, what are you thinking on the game predictions?
Well, I think also I forgot to mention one last thing, that Clark Lee and Mike Elko bromance, hopefully that's another feather in the cap in our direction, because, I think that showed up when we played Missouri a little bit. I mean, these guys. And so, like, I know it was a few weeks ago, but I kind of think that after watching that game, I bet Tim Beck and Clark Lee wishes they had a mulligan, because I think they came in with this game plan of, we're going to have to run it, control the clock, and really they should have just let Pavia just go do Pavia stuff and throw the ball, because they just absolutely destroyed them, like we saw in that intermediate zone with Eli Stowers and everybody. Like, it was just and so anyway, I bet, like, Clark Lee and Mike have talked, so I'm gonna predict 38-28. I think it's going to be a higher scoring game, one way or the other. I could see them having a few explosives against us, but I could also see us landing haymakers late to end it, as well.
Yeah.
The analogy I have for this year, I went to last year's game. Last year, we were like the guy at the casino gambling with our literally our mortgage. Like, if we win, we're going to be rolling fat, but if we lose, we're going to be living on the street. And so that was a really tough situation last year, because last year we win, we go to the SEC championship game, and we've got that same scenario here. If we lose, we're out of the SEC championship game. But just a reminder, guys, that our lose this year, it's like we're gambling with house money right now. And if we lose it, we're going to go right back, and we're going to play probably a home playoff game at Kyle Field, which can be argued we don't have many data points yet. But let's just remember, like, a team that played a home playoff game is what won it all last year. So that wouldn't have been in the playoff the year, when it was just Final Four. So
that's what I was going to say is worst case scenario, guys, we get to host a playoff game. So that totally different situation compared to last year, no doubt.
Yep.
Mark, what do you got for game predictions, boss?
So I'm going to go 31-28 Aggies. I think it'll be late. We'll go up like 31-21 because I think their defensive depth is an issue. So I think we score in the fourth quarter. I think that late Sark will design them up a touchdown, and we'll recover an onside kick and go to the SEC championship game.
I love it.
All right. Well, I've got us 31-17. I think they're talented, but I don't think they're nearly as talented they were last year. And I think last year, like we talked about, they could stack the box, and we couldn't really punish them for it, unfortunately. But now we can. And I think Craver's been resting for a couple weeks, and he'll be ready to go. And KC and ABR just keeps getting daggum better every stinking week. Good grief, that kid. So I think 31-17. I'm hoping that we get to send those Sips home early. I'd like to see about a half-empty stadium when that game's over. So, players of the game, Seth, what you got?
I'm gonna go with Hicks, Regis, Onyedem. And if I had to zero in on one guy, I'm going to say Hicks, because I think he's our best interior pass rusher. And the left guard and center for them has been an issue. Like Mark said, they have short. I mean, in the Florida game, it was as bad as I've watched on film this year for what's supposed to be a top-tier SEC football program. They have shorted up a little bit. It's still the same guys, though. It's still the same guy that was getting destroyed. And so if Hicks is able to penetrate inside and beat the left guard, the center, whoever he's up on, and he's able to rush Manning from the front, and we continue to contain, that's the type of haymaker. We do that on first or second down, that's the end of that drive, more than likely. So that's why I think if I had to narrow it down, I'm going to say DJ Hicks is my guy. So
okay. Mark, what you got, boss? Who's your guy?
I really do this. I really answer these questions first before anybody else, and I hate that because then me and
I don't
Seth
even
are
look
on
at
the
y'all.
same
I just
friggin'
type what I
page. I
have.
know. Now I didn't even know. I didn't know till you said who you said. I'm
Yeah.
gonna go with this. I'm gonna do something crazy this week. My player of the game is Mike Elko.
Like it.
When we win this game, it will be because of him and his coaching staff and the culture they have built, and also because they can coach football at a high level. Don't miss that. There's a lot of guys out there that are kind of culture-y guys, like they gotta, oh, we're gonna have this cool word and we're gonna do all this cool stuff, but then they don't schematically play football at a high level. They just kind of do what everybody else does, but it's
And they
these
celebrate
guys,
winning at halftime. I mean,
look,
sometimes they
yeah,
celebrate at the wrong time. I mean,
look. I think he's done a phenomenal job. If I have to go with players, again, I'm just like Seth. The game boils down to Onyedem, Regis, Hicks. When you look at protection schemes, one guy's going to get a double team. If you're just rushing 4, like you do probably 50% of the time for us, most of the time for other defenses, but for us it's about 50-50. One guy's getting a double team, the other guy's getting a one-on-one. I used to tell my defensive linemen this. Look, understand, I know you're getting a double team. Fight your butt off, but everybody else has got a one-on-one. Maybe somebody has a back help with, but the ability of those guys to win one-on-ones and get in the quarterback's face will be the key to the game. And so one of those guys, just like he said, Onyedem, Regis, Hicks, one of those guys, it may end up being Cassius Howell, but I'm going to go with the interior defensive tackles.
well, I'm going to go with KC. What I appreciate about KC is that, and this isn't a shot at anybody else on the team, but we use Samford as a rest game. Who was still in the game making plays? KC was. KC was still returning punts. KC was still, catching quick screens and catching slants. That guy, I know he's only been here a year, but that guy's a dog. He's a competitor. That guy is just an outright dog. And so I'm going to go with him. I think he's going to have 100 yards receiving and a touchdown through the air. And I think he's going to pop a punt. He's been really close the last couple of weeks. He almost had one against South Carolina. He almost had one against Samford. And so I love that guy. I'm going to miss that guy next year. I love how he competes. And so I think he's going to be the player of the game on offense. We were talking about they can't stack the box anymore. If they do, we're going to punish him. And I think he's going to be one of the main reasons we're able to punish him. So,
hey, I got a question for Seth. Seth, if you were the quarterback's coach for Texas A&M, what would your message be to our quarterback? I know what mine would be, and I'm just curious what your thoughts are there. Going into this game, national TV, holiday, rivalry, all the stuff that he's seen with his name this year, what would your message be to him going into this game?
Yeah, you can't go win the Heisman just doing you can't go win it yourself. You have to be the
That's
point
exactly
guard.
what I was going to say.
Yeah,
That's exactly
we need you to be the point guard. You need to be John Stockton, bro. We don't need you landing threes. We need you to distribute the ball.
I'm so glad you said that because that was exactly what I was going to say. My message would be, Marcel, you don't got to go win the Heisman tonight. What you got to do is you got to go run the offense, take what they give you, get first downs, advance the team down, finish in the red zone. You don't have to be the guy. Let your other guys be the guy. And here's what happens when he does that. He ends up making some crazy plays.
Well, that's why I was going to say, Mark, is to me, one of his Heisman moments that they'll never talk about if he gets to go to New York is the check at Missouri to that screen that KC took to the house. And he got credit for all those yards. He had to throw it about 7 yards, and he got credit for 60.
Yep.
And but that's him being the point guard you're talking about and distributing that ball and seeing what the defense was doing and adjusting to it. And that's what we need on Saturday. We don't need him. I mean, don't get me wrong. If he throws a couple bombs, nobody's going to complain, but that's not what he needs to go into that game thinking about. Give what they're going to play that cover 3 and give them that much room, hit it underneath and let your playmakers be playmakers.
And Elko's smoking. Go ahead. Elko's smoking the backup quarterback on like a 3rd and 5, and he's throwing the deep route instead of throwing the easy dig for the first down. Yeah. That was a good message for Marcel to just kind of be a part of last week. Maybe that'll be in his head a little.
So. Yeah. I will say this much: like this team seems to, especially Marcel, might be the tip of the spear on this. That like he seems to thrive the most when we normal average humans would think that we would be the most scared. Like, I almost feel like Marcel tends to not thrive the most whenever it's like the first half of South Carolina, and I've been told don't run and get yourself hurt, and so then it's like, oh well, I have to, like, when you take all the gloves off and you put him out in that road atmosphere, I mean, look what he's done at Arkansas, Missouri, and LSU. Those aren't easy places to win. I don't care how bad the team is.
Notre Dame.
Anyway, Notre Dame, yeah, all the way back. Like so I'm excited. I'm almost more excited this is a road game. I know that sounds crazy.
Me too.
But like he really has like. That kid just seems to thrive the more you stack things against him. Like, if you stack things against him, the more he thrives. So very exciting. Like I said, he plays like I mean, he may sometimes get off but like his brain and how he functions and his I don't know what the word I'm looking for is here, but like his grittiness, I guess is the word I'm looking for. Like his ability to overcome failure is like that of a 10-year vet in the NFL. You know, he may not have the NFL arm or whatever, but like his ability to just kind of do that, it's impressive. I think that's how he won the job last year, you know, is the fact that he could just come in and take the hard coaching and keep going. And anyway, so yeah, I think it's actually a good thing that's a road game. Crazy to say that out loud, but
all right, guys. Well, hopefully we'll get on here next week with a dub and heading to the SEC championship. This is Tres Amigos signing out. Gig 'em, and thanks.
go.
Tres Amigos, former football coaches turned insurance agents, talk about Texas Aggie football.